Have you ever given your heart to someone who didn't even know what to do with it? It's one of the most painful spiritual bankruptcies a person can experience, to invest your time, energy, love, and even your future into someone who never planned to stay. We live in a generation where dating has become entertainment instead of preparation. Feelings have replaced vision, and clarity has been sacrificed on the altar of chemistry. This is not just a relationship issue, this is a destiny crisis. Right now, more than ever, people are dating with no aim, no end goal, no spiritual alignment. They swipe, flirt, link up, move in, break up, all without asking the most important question: why am I in this relationship in the first place? What was meant to be a process of discovery has turned into a cycle of confusion. What was meant to lead to covenant now leads to heartbreak, soul ties, trauma, and regret. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine boarding a plane with no destination. The flight is smooth, the seats are comfortable, the snacks are good, but after hours in the air, you realize the pilot never filed a flight plan. You've been flying in circles, wasting fuel, wasting time, and getting nowhere. That's exactly what dating without purpose looks like. We're not here to play games with our hearts. This message is for the spiritually hungry, the emotionally tired, and the purpose-driven. I'm about to give you 8 life-changing truths that will not only shift how you date, they'll rescue you from relational disaster. If you're ready for change, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Someone else's freedom might be waiting on your breakthrough. When a person walks through life without direction, they become vulnerable to every detour. In the same way, dating without a clear purpose exposes the heart to confusion, unnecessary heartbreak, and wasted years. The danger isn't just in who you date, but in why you date. Every decision in life requires direction, but relationships are one of the most sensitive areas where direction must be clear. Purpose answers the question, why am I in this relationship? Without a strong why, you will fall for any who. Dating with no defined destination is like boarding a train with no idea where it's headed. You might enjoy the ride for a while, but eventually you'll realize you're nowhere near where you were meant to be. A young woman named Miriam serves as a sobering example. Gifted, ambitious, and full of potential, she longed for connection, but never paused to define what she was looking for. She believed affection and attention were enough. One relationship turned into another, and with each goodbye, a piece of her identity faded. She was dating men who liked her beauty but had no capacity for her calling. Her sense of direction was lost in the fog of casual connection. When she finally stepped back to reflect, she discovered the missing key: purpose. She began to write down her values, her vision, and the standards that aligned with her faith. As her sense of direction grew clearer, her standards grew stronger. No longer did she entertain every admirer. She evaluated them through the lens of divine alignment. In the kingdom, purpose is not optional. Everything God created, He created with intention. Trees bear fruit. Rivers flow toward seas. Stars shine in patterns. Relationships, likewise, are meant to serve divine intent. Dating, when done right, should be a step toward a shared destiny, not an emotional experiment. A study by the National Marriage Project revealed that couples who discuss purpose and long-term goals early in the relationship are significantly more likely to report satisfaction and stability in the future. Purpose protects the relationship from becoming a revolving door of false starts. Clarity is not a suggestion, it is protection. You can't afford to let your heart follow chemistry while ignoring character. You can't allow your time to be consumed by people who are unsure of their direction. When you know where you're going, you'll quickly recognize who can't walk with you. Purpose gives you the power to say no, to what is attractive but misaligned. It teaches you that not every open door leads to your destination. When you date with direction, your standards are not a barrier. They're a blessing. They don't keep love out. They filter confusion out. Purpose doesn't just define what you want. It shapes what you won't accept. And when that happens, you're no longer just dating. You're discerning, building, preparing for destiny. The heart was never meant to be handed out casually. Every emotional bond carries weight, and every connection leaves an imprint. When dating lacks purpose, the risk isn't just disappointment, it's emotional fragmentation. You begin to give pieces of your soul to people who were never meant to keep them. Emotionally, the cost of purposeless dating is invisible at first. It begins with late-night conversations, vulnerable sharing, affectionate moments that seem harmless. But when there is no vision for the future, those investments turn into withdrawals. When the relationship dissolves, what remains is not just sadness, it's soul fatigue. You gave too much, too soon, for too little. Ahmed's story is a reflection of this reality. He wasn't looking for something serious, or so he thought. After a painful childhood marked by abandonment, Ahmed feared rejection. Dating casually helped him feel wanted, if only temporarily. He moved from one short-lived relationship to another, each one starting with excitement and ending in silence. One day, someone walked away after saying, "I care about you, but I don't see a future." Her words pierced deeper than he expected. His identity had become so tied to the approval of the person he was dating that her rejection felt like personal failure. Emotional risk is amplified when you build connections on uncertain foundations. The deeper the bond, the deeper the wound if it breaks. The heart becomes numb over time. What once felt sacred becomes routine. The danger is not just heartbreak, it's hardening. Kingdom relationships are rooted in emotional stewardship. God designed emotions to serve truth, not override it. Feelings are real, but they're not final authority. Purpose brings emotions under submission. It doesn't ignore them, it protects them. When you date with purpose, you don't give all of yourself on the first date. You allow connection to grow only where character has been proven. Research from the Journal of Family Psychology reveals that individuals involved in repeated, short-term romantic relationships are more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and emotional instability over time. The emotional roller coaster has consequences. Casual dating teaches the heart to attach quickly and detach just as fast. Over time, the ability to form deep, trusting bonds weakens. Dating with purpose reteaches the heart patience. It reminds you that connection is not currency. You don't owe intimacy just because someone showed interest. You are not called to be emotionally available to every kind face. Not everyone deserves access to your vulnerability. Your heart is sacred. It carries dreams, wounds, hopes, and identity. Dating without purpose invites people to hold what they have no intention to keep. And when that happens repeatedly, the damage is not obvious, but it is real. Emotional health is a kingdom priority. Purpose is not a restriction. It is a guardrail. It doesn't limit love. It preserves it for the right time, the right person, the right covenant. Every destiny requires discipline, and every calling demands focus. When you step into relationships without a clear sense of purpose, you expose your future to distraction, subtle, emotional, often disguised as romance, but designed to derail you. Distraction doesn't always show up as temptation or sin. Often it comes clothed in compatibility, casual affection, and comforting words. But when the relationship lacks direction, it becomes a silent thief. It doesn't break your life in one moment. It delays your development, drains your focus, and detours your momentum. Fatima was a young woman with a fire for impact. She dreamed of building a non-profit that educated young girls in underserved communities. She had vision, passion, and potential. But then she met someone who was charming, supportive on the surface, and enjoyable to be around. They started dating, casually at first. What began as a harmless connection turned into a full-time distraction. Meetings were missed, focus slipped, energy shifted. Her vision was still alive, but no longer a priority. She didn't realize it at first. She was busy, but not building. She was in love, but not aligned. The man wasn't evil. He was just not assigned to her future. She had let emotional comfort hijack her divine calling. Purpose is not just about knowing where you're going. It's about knowing what's not worth stopping for. Every detour has a cost. In the kingdom, you cannot afford to give precious time to connections that are not building with you. Relationships are either helping you become or slowly pulling you away from who you were born to be. When you date without guarding your assignment, you begin to make compromises. You adjust your schedule, reduce your spiritual disciplines, and silence the whispers of God, all to preserve a connection that was never sent to preserve you. Purpose filters distractions. It tells you when something is good, but not God. It teaches you to say no, not because you're prideful, but because you're focused. Vision has enemies, and distraction is one of the most subtle. Clarity births courage. When you are clear about your purpose, you don't waste your strength trying to maintain relationships that drain you. You understand that not everyone who walks into your life belongs in your future. Focus is a spiritual weapon. The enemy doesn't have to destroy you to defeat you. He only needs to distract you long enough to make you forget what you were born to do. When you date with purpose, you protect your vision by protecting your relationships. Purpose turns down the volume on every voice that doesn't echo your destiny. It keeps you from investing in people who cannot carry your future. It reminds you that peace is not found in companionship alone, but in alignment with calling. The way you define attraction determines the direction of your relationships. Without purpose, attraction is shallow. It's driven by appearances, preferences, and temporary chemistry. But when your heart is governed by divine purpose, what draws you begins to change. You stop being pulled by flesh and start being led by spirit. True kingdom attraction is not just about beauty, charisma, or charm. It's about connection at the level of assignment. Purpose opens your eyes to see beyond the surface, into the soul, into the character, into the spirit of a person. What once caught your eye may no longer capture your heart when purpose is in charge. Samira was a woman known for her elegance, her intellect, and her strong faith. Suitors often came her way, well-dressed, well-spoken, with smiles that could melt the room. But something inside her began to shift. She grew tired of relationships that were fun but directionless. She began praying differently. Lord, transform my attraction. Make me desire what aligns with you. Soon, her heart started noticing different things. It wasn't the loudest guy in the room or the one with the perfect smile. It was the quiet man who served faithfully, who prayed fervently, who honored God with his life. She saw substance over style, depth over decoration. Purpose changes your preferences. It makes you value things the world tells you to ignore. Character, discipline, faith, vision. Attraction becomes less about who impresses your eyes and more about who inspires your spirit. This is why so many people fall for the wrong person repeatedly, because their definition of attraction hasn't been renewed by purpose. They chase a feeling, a vibe, an experience, but without spiritual alignment, that connection cannot endure. Purpose teaches you to ask deeper questions. Can we build something eternal together? Does this person's lifestyle reflect kingdom priorities? Do they walk in wisdom, honor, integrity? Are they healed, or just hiding their brokenness behind personality? Attraction without alignment is a setup for frustration. No matter how good someone looks, if they cannot walk with you toward purpose, the relationship will exhaust you. It will take constant effort to maintain something that God never ordained. When you allow your purpose to shape your attraction, you don't just fall in love. You rise into love. You connect with someone whose presence doesn't just excite your emotions, but elevates your assignment. You find yourself energized, not drained, focused, not confused. This is how kingdom love works. It's not just about being with someone who makes your heart skip. It's about walking with someone who helps your vision live. Purpose doesn't kill romance. It sanctifies it. It sets a higher standard. It filters charm and reveals calling. When your attraction flows from purpose, it's not about possession. It's about partnership. And in that space, love becomes more than a feeling. It becomes a force for destiny. God never intended relationships to be random attachments or emotional experiments. From the beginning, partnership has been connected to purpose. Adam was not given Eve simply for companionship. He was given a helper who matched his assignment. Partnership in the kingdom is always rooted in vision, not just affection. When you date without purpose, you risk forming bonds that have no ability to sustain God's intention for your life. The excitement might be mutual, but if the mission isn't, the relationship will become strained. Love is not enough if there's no alignment. Two people going in different directions will eventually feel the pull. One must slow down, speed up, or stop altogether. This is why purpose must lead before passion begins. Abraham and Sarah are a clear example of what kingdom partnership looks like. Both were involved in youth ministry, mentoring students and leading discipleship groups. They met at a leadership summit. Their connection didn't begin with flirtation. It began with shared service. Conversations naturally shifted toward their dreams, visions, and burdens for the next generation. Before feelings developed, their faith and mission aligned. Their dating journey wasn't centered around trying to impress one another. It was about discovering if they could build together. Partnership rooted in purpose produces fruit. It's not just about emotional fulfillment. It's about spiritual assignment. Relationships like these carry peace because they are not competing for control. They are complementing one another's callings. Abraham didn't feel threatened by Sarah's leadership. Sarah didn't feel diminished by Abraham's vision. They both saw each other as co-laborers, not competitors. When God brings two people together under the banner of purpose, they begin to multiply. Faith, impact, growth. One puts 1,000 to flight, but two put 10,000. There is exponential power in aligned purpose. A relationship becomes dangerous when one partner is running and the other is resisting. One has a dream and the other has distractions. You may love each other, but if you aren't pushing toward the same destination, love will become frustration. This is why discernment and vision must go before deep emotional investment. Partnership isn't about finding someone who completes you emotionally. It's about linking with someone who strengthens you spiritually. It's not about how cute you look together in pictures. It's about what you're called to carry together in purpose. Dating with a kingdom mindset means asking deeper questions. Can we co-steward a vision? Can we handle spiritual warfare together? Can we pray, build, and believe on the same level? The answers to those questions will reveal if you are dating for purpose or simply for pleasure. The goal is not just a wedding. It's a work. It's a joint assignment. When your dating life becomes about kingdom partnership, you stop looking for a partner who just fits your heart. You start looking for one who fits your future. Regret often visits those who ignored their inner convictions and warnings. It doesn't show up overnight. It accumulates over time. When you date without direction, you give your heart, your time, and sometimes your body to someone who never had the capacity to carry your destiny. And when the relationship ends, what's left isn't just sadness. It's the weight of wishing you had waited. There are decisions that will cost you years. Regret doesn't just whisper you made a mistake. It screams you knew better. It's the pain of hindsight, the realization that you stepped outside of divine timing. One of the greatest protections against that kind of pain is clarity of purpose. Purpose sets boundaries. It creates pause. It empowers you to walk away from temporary pleasure in exchange for lasting peace. A woman once shared that she rushed into marriage with someone who showed interest but lacked integrity. Deep down, she knew something was off, but the pressure to settle, the fear of being alone, and the desire for stability silenced her discernment. 3 years into the marriage, it ended in betrayal. She didn't just lose a relationship. She lost time, confidence, and emotional health. Her greatest pain wasn't the divorce. It was the knowing that she ignored the voice of God because she didn't let purpose lead. Purpose is a divine compass. It reminds you of what's worth fighting for and what's not worth entertaining. It guards you from becoming emotionally entangled with someone who is not aligned with your assignment. It teaches you to measure relationships by calling, not just chemistry. The presence of regret often reveals that purpose was either absent or ignored. When you date with intention, you create a future you won't have to heal from. You may still face challenges, but you won't face the pain of having wandered into something without a map. Culturally, there's a rush to pair off, to match, to date just to prove you're desirable. But God doesn't rush. He prepares. He works through seasons, character, and alignment. Dating on purpose means being willing to say no, even when your heart is longing for yes. It means having hard conversations early, asking the uncomfortable questions, confronting red flags before they become spiritual landmines. One of the greatest gifts you can give your future self is the discipline to wait for what aligns. Regret is not just about bad relationships. It's about missed opportunities, stolen time, and broken trust that could have been avoided if purpose had been present. Discernment without purpose is hesitant, but when you know why you're dating, your yes becomes bold and your no becomes sacred. You don't apologize for your standards because you know what's at stake. You protect your peace before it's disturbed. You honor your future before it's compromised. Purpose without discernment is like driving a powerful vehicle with no brakes or headlights. You may be headed in the right direction, but without the ability to recognize what's really in front of you, you're likely to crash. Discernment is the spiritual sensitivity to perceive beyond appearances. It's the ability to recognize motive, direction, timing, and alignment. Many people enter relationships that look right on paper but are misaligned in the spirit. They hear what they want to hear, see what they want to see, and ignore the signs that God is showing them in plain sight. Discernment keeps you from making emotional decisions with spiritual consequences. Yusuf believed he had met someone who fit his checklist: faith-filled, educated, attractive, and seemingly sincere. They had deep conversations and even attended church together. But something inside felt unsettled. Her words said the right things, but her actions were often inconsistent. She avoided accountability, resisted spiritual depth, and dismissed his desire to pray together. Yusuf pushed aside the discomfort, thinking he was being too picky. Months later, the relationship unraveled. She admitted she never felt the same spiritual connection he did, and had been pretending to meet his expectations. The pain Yusuf felt wasn't just from the breakup. It was from the realization that he had silenced the voice of discernment. What he called chemistry was actually camouflage, Discernment would have saved him time, peace, and emotional weight. Kingdom relationships are forged through spiritual agreement, not just emotional excitement. Discernment protects you from counterfeits, those who carry the appearance of purpose but lack the depth to walk it out. It helps you distinguish between what is God sent and what is self-selected. You don't just ask, do we get along? You ask, do we align spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and missionally? Discerning hearts ask difficult questions early. How do they handle pressure? Are they rooted in accountability? Do they live what they say? How do they treat others when no one's watching? Are they whole, or are they hiding behind performance? The presence of peace is a key marker of discernment. The Holy Spirit often speaks not just through words, but through your restlessness. If your soul is constantly unsettled around someone, don't ignore it. That's not fear, it might be divine warning. Discernment isn't suspicion, it's wisdom. It doesn't lead you to judge with a critical spirit, but to evaluate with a protective one. It makes you pray before pursuing. It makes you slow down when emotions want to speed up. It causes you to invite spiritual mentors into your decision-making process, because you understand that love must be tested before it's trusted. Dating with discernment doesn't just help you find the right person. It helps you avoid the wrong ones. And that protection is just as powerful as a blessing. Dating is not just a journey of emotion. It's a training ground for stewardship. Every relationship you enter is a test of how well you manage another person's time, heart, trust, and future. If dating is not approached with a kingdom mindset, you begin to mishandle what was never meant to be played with. Destiny requires stewardship, and that includes your romantic life. A faithful steward sees beyond the moment. They understand that love is not possession. It's responsibility. God entrusts us with people, not for our pleasure alone, but for His purpose. Dating with purpose transforms your relationships into spaces where growth, healing, purpose, and accountability flourish. Nia and Emmanuel were both passionate about their callings. She was a teacher. He was a worship leader. They met during a community outreach project. When they began dating, they agreed on one thing. This relationship would be a place of stewardship. They weren't experimenting, they were preparing. Every conversation, every boundary, every plan was filtered through the question, is this honoring God and building our future? They prayed together weekly, submitted to spiritual mentors, and intentionally built habits they wanted to carry into marriage. Their dating wasn't idle, it was intentional. Even when disagreements arose, they used conflict as training, not as an excuse to walk away, but as a way to learn how to carry one another's burdens with grace and wisdom. Stewardship means you don't exploit someone else's vulnerability. You don't manipulate their insecurities. You don't take from them what you're not willing to covenantally protect. You date with discipline, protecting boundaries emotionally, spiritually, and physically. The world says, take what you can. The kingdom says, protect what you've been entrusted with. When your mindset shifts from what can I get to how can I honor this person's purpose, you step into maturity. You stop seeing dating as a destination and begin seeing it as preparation. Marriage isn't the reward for dating. It's the assignment that begins after the training. Many broken marriages are simply the result of irresponsible dating seasons. People carried immature habits into covenant because no one taught them to steward the dating season with integrity. When you date casually, you train your heart to love conditionally. You rehearse breaking up. You rehearse withdrawal, but dating with destiny in mind teaches you commitment, patience, and mutual honor. Being a faithful steward means managing your singleness well too. You don't wait for a relationship to develop your character. You grow now, you prepare now, you build your purpose and identity now. So when the right person arrives, you're not scrambling to adjust. You're simply inviting them into a life already aligned with God's will. Destiny won't partner with disorder. Dating with purpose is about managing your future before you arrive in it. The habits, boundaries, prayers, and decisions you make now will shape what you carry later. Stewardship isn't optional. It's kingdom expectation.